everyone? Sir Heroscape here today, coming at you with an exciting update. So this last weekend was PAX Unplugged, which was a convention out in, I believe, Pennsylvania. Renegade was there. I think they did have some Heroscape events, from what I can tell from posts. I just found out that they were there this last weekend and saw some updates on Discord. There's been a number of, community posts and people who were there that saw a bunch of new releases, or rather sneak peeks of those releases for 2026. So I'm just going to show you what we know, which is pictures. There's been a ton of discussion on Discord, so I don't know all the details as far as what's confirmed or not in terms of who they are, what they're coming from. I'll basically just go off with speculation and just, fun ideas that people, from what I've skimmed, have said. But we're just going to show you the pictures and have some fun just speculating and figuring out what's coming up in 2026. Okay, here we are with Secrets of the Citadel, 2026, August of next year. This is the master set that's coming out. Sorry, it's a little bit, blurry here. These are images from Discord. So we're going to scroll through them here just as some quick reviews on the wider shots, and then I've got some specific images for each of these with a little more detail, and we can start speculating and talking about some of these. First thing of note is we have some fauna. It's a new jungle terrain piece. Not sure if anything has been confirmed on Discord yet, whether there's going to be abilities or anything around that, or if this is just going to be a nice aesthetic line of sight blocker. I do like that the line of sight blocker is large. It seems to be quite big, probably 10 hexes high, maybe 8 to 10 hexes high, thick, so it's going to be a good blocker. The fauna is a very unique look, so I think that's pretty cool. My biggest initial feedback is I'm not going to get specific, but let's just take a minute and look at that for those of us that are adults and understand some significance of certain things. I highly suggest that Renegade takes the time to reconsider some of the designs of these fauna pieces. I showed this image to my wife, and that was her first comment. She laughed out loud and said something needs to change. Now, that's, for most people, maybe not an issue. But for, I think just generally speaking, people can, anyway, doesn't matter. Don't need to get into that. But, if we're giving feedback to Renegade, maybe a little bit more variety and a little bit different type of mushroom can be designed, hopefully in time, if these are not already in print and launchable. So we won't go into that, but that's my first feedback. To be honest, gotta be honest. The other thing I noticed is I'm seeing some shadow tiles. I don't know if these are going to be part of the terrain set, but it seems like they should be. Why would they put a terrain piece that's not going to be part of the terrain set? So I think we might be getting more shadow tiles in this set. I also think it's pretty cool to see that this is a new terrain type. On Discord, it was confirmed it will be a new terrain type. I believe Lee said it's going to be something ancient. I believe, I can't remember the words, but at least she said it was something more ancient or think ancient. So, there's some speculation that it's like cavern terrain or something, but we already have dungeon terrain, and dungeon terrain is essentially cavern terrain. So I'm not sure it's going to be that at all. I personally think it's going to be more something like Feywild type stuff. I mean, if you've played D&D, this fauna reminds me of stuff you'd see in the Feywild. And so I do see what it looks like to be light green or moldy looking terrain. And so I think this could be either some sort of mold or like a moss fauna terrain, or maybe it's just called ancient terrain. I'm not sure, but it does have a distinct look to it. It looks like it's brown with, again, some sort of light dusting of green or gray. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's personally going to be some sort of mold or moss with a new terrain type. I'm not sure it's going to have any abilities. other than maybe it could affect or buff certain units, but, you know, it might just be aesthetic. Same thing with the fauna. Don't know if there's any special abilities there, but at the very least, it's going to be line of sight blocker. Hopefully, the new terrain types aren't just aesthetic. I think there's going to be some really cool game applications if they can come up with some interesting, you know, terrain abilities, hopefully that are decently simple without being too overcomplicated. Would be really exciting to see some of that. Also, I really hope that the expansion or the master set does not just include one fauna type that's literally one hex. That would be obscenely awful for a master set, just to have one terrain line of sight blocker. That would just be kind of awful. So really hoping that there will be more terrain line of sight blockers if this is the master set. Now jumping into the figures themselves, we have Isamu over here, 2.0. We're going to see a little bit more of an image there with him. He is undead. We'll take a look at him in a second. We have this, what seems to be potentially like a Omnicron armored type unit. Fish guy, we'll talk about him in a sec. We have Medusa, or not Medusa, Sidema 2.0. We have some sort of carrion crow thing, undead thing maybe. We have like a Soulborg dude, a Maro nasty horror, and then we've got a what seems to be a unique squad of bears. In the back here, you can't really quite see him, is Tailord 2.0. Here we have what many speculate as Joan of Arc, though an older version. This is our potentially first historical unit other than Joan, well, sorry, I guess other than Joan of Arc. So another historical unit. Then over here we have what seems to be a Vorid, on the top left, a Vorid sheriff, which is kind of awesome, not gonna lie, totally excited about that. Let's go take a look at a few others. You get to see a few other units that are showing up. So you have this bizarre looking who knows what. We'll talk about him in a little bit. We have a really cool orc dude that's from the industrialized Grut, probably some sort of inquisitor or investigator type guy. We have our very own Cthulhu Daddy, which is making our first appearance from an amazing you know, Avalon Hill campaign. We got some concept art for the Cthulhu Daddy, and we've got the Discord people consistently asking for him. He finally makes a showing. We'll see a better picture of him in a second. We have a Doc Ock cowboy, Aliens vs. Cowboys kind of a deal over here on the top left. Again, pretty blurry. We'll take a look in a second. And then we've got, this is actually a unique squad of 3. You can't see the guy on the left. I'll show you in a minute. But another Vorid unique squad. So we'll look at them specifically here, so we just get a little bit of a look at the miniatures. First up, let's take a look at this weirdo. We've got some new species. No idea what they're going to say here. They might actually give this guy's species varied. You can tell he's got 2 different wings. It looks like Kyrie rings from the Ukar Kyrian and Einar Kyrie. He looks like he's got potentially some sort of draconic head. The double arms on the left here of the that look like the green Scordair squad, and then on the right it looks like some sort of draconic arm. The feet look both the same, and so I think you know, with this chop saw he's got here and these potions, this is some sort of experimental like creature, some sort of Frankenstein type of creature where he's you know, mix and matching his own body and somehow successfully done it with either science or magic, not really sure. But yeah, very curious to see what comes of this design and the abilities. I honestly have no idea what to expect. If there's been discussion on Discord for this and or any of the units that I cover today, please provide some feedback in or insight. Would love to hear it, because unfortunately there's a ton of Discord messages and I could only skim through and glean as much as I could for some of these. So feel free to add more commentary on some of these if there is any. All right, we have Joan of Arc. Again, I don't think this has been fully confirmed, but the speculation is pretty high and I would say pretty on point. They've already alluded to historical miniatures being a main focus of the 2026 Secrets of the Citadel expansion and master set, and so
I think that's what we've got here. The white thing, I don't really know, other than it's, potentially just a representation of a banner. This is a halberd. We'll see in a different angle that is a halberd. She is fully armored. Also note this is a rather old version of Joan of Arc, if that is the case here. So I'm thinking lore-wise, it's possible that Joan was saved a while ago, but she's just showing up now for the first time. And so maybe she was saved in the original timeline of Heroscape at the beginning of the Battle for All Time, but is now just aged during the Age of Annihilation, or rather Secrets of the Citadel. Maybe she's aged during this era, or maybe there's some sort of aging mechanic that occurs when people are pulled through this new age of summoning. Who knows? But yeah, here's a little bit of a clearer picture with a little bit more defined imagery. A little bit of a different angle. You can see the halberd there is actually tied or wrapped around with this banner, this white banner. Honestly, I love it. I think, historical miniatures, especially just, knights and, honor and valor. Like I love that, just kind of classic trope. So really excited to see what they're doing here. This angle actually does a decent job of showing that it doesn't look like she's very old. I'll be honest, this angle does not make her look very old. So it is very possible that the straight on angle of that image and maybe some of the shadowing made the miniature look like it was an old lady. This actually doesn't look so bad. So I think, maybe this is just a normal timeline. Joan of Arc, or Jeanne d'Arc, as she is called. And yeah, excited either way. All right, historical miniature number 2. Now, when I first saw this one, I had no freaking idea what to expect. I assumed it was historical. It looked to me like the garb was that of a historical Earth, some sort of Asian influence. This angle and the fuzziness isn't great, so I'll show you a better picture. A little bit of a crisper image. You get to see the samurai swords. You get to see kind of the iconic, footwear, the headdress, the baton or the sword here seems to be pretty unique. And so, again, I think you get the sense that this is kind of Asian, Japanese influenced, and, okay, we know what specifically is it. Well, we had some Discord sleuths find that out. I think it's going to be a pretty cool unit. Not sure if it's a unique hero or uncommon hero or common hero. Well, I guess we'll find out. But it is a Japanese police officer. As you can see here, Matt Shadow King talking about the close-up. He says, reinforce my idea that the Einar guy is a historical Japanese lawman, police officer. Other than the colors, the clothing is like identical. And the equipment, the hat, the shoes, the breastplate, the 2 swords and the sai, the coat and puffy trousers. So he literally has a picture, and it's like, yeah, this is 100% a Japanese. I mean, look at the baton as well with that little, little thing on the edge there, the little guard. That's what the guy's holding. He's got 2 distinct swords. The guy had 2 distinct swords. The shoe wear, it looks exactly the same. Hat, everything points towards yes. So we have ourselves a historic unit, the samurai police officer, which here's the kind of fun information about that. So heck yeah, let's go for historical units. All right, we have this bizarre fish-looking dude. He's got scales for legs and feet. He's got kind of the weird head, this blue and white armor that looks futuristic like a stormtrooper, but also like the Omnicrons, and some sort of white-blue cannon on his shoulder. What is this guy? I'm not sure we know, but what I think is pretty interesting, the sleuths on Discord found him in the original webisodes. Here's one angle. I think it's pretty clear that based off of the armor, his fish head, and then you see the armor, and see the circle and the edge or the arc of his armor there shows up in one of the original webisodes. Here's another angle. You can see behind Sergeant Drake Alexander, again, that distinctive fish-looking head with gills, the circle, and then the kind of arced armor. Also, I'll be honest, it looks kind of like a diaper. The diaper armor near the waist, also shows up. You see that distinctive arc on the top of the armor near the chest. You see the kind of distinctive diaper, the bluish look, and then that kind of spiky fish head. I think makes it pretty clear they've done their homework and have provided a unit that has also shown up in the original Heroscape lore. Well done, Renegade. Again, obviously not confirmed yet, but I think, and this is incredible if that is. I mean, great job. Here's another angle of that guy. You get a little bit better look at who he is and what he's doing. You've got his fishgill wings on the back here, pointed down with the cannon on the back. Also, side note, why couldn't the Gilry have their fish wings like this? I hate Gilry wings. More on that later. Maybe I'll do a specific video just on that. But I think Renegade needs to have an official allow list of miniature modifications. One being Maladrix, that's the most egregious with her legs. And then two, the next would be the Gilry wings. This is how they should have represented the Gilry wings. A folded version that folds down behind the back of the miniature, doesn't impede any type of movement or positioning. The Gilry wings are the most obnoxious, horrible things to ever exist in the world of Heroscape, aside from a few other things. But that's another note for another time. That said, this guy looks pretty dope with a cool Omnicron-type cannon thing. Not exactly sure if he'll have any synergy, but, you know, they colored him that way, so I kind of think they will. All right, well, we get Cthulhu Daddy, so well done to all the Discord people who, for the last year, 2 year, 3 year, whatever it's been, have continued to request and be the squeaky wheel. We now have a massive 4-armed Cthulhu Daddy making his rounds on the battlefield with a minigunner on the top, a goblin or a gnome or whatever, minigunner on the top. How awesome is that? We are going to get a freaking behemoth of a unit. Not sure exactly where the synergies are going to fall. I get the obvious sense that this may fall with the Gilry, right? He might be unfathomable and be able to develop along with the Gilry. Or they might just make him a unit unto himself, doing his own thing. Maybe he'll have some sort of, goblin or synergy around there. No idea. But I kind of expect a massive normal attack, maybe a ranged, it has to have a ranged special attack. He's got a minigun. So hopefully a pretty cool, special attack that references that. And yeah, who knows? I have no idea what to expect for this guy, but it's going to be awesome. And here's just another angle of him. You kind of get a sense that he's got these massive canisters on the back. I'm not sure if that's fueling his oxygen. I kind of get the sense that might be similar to how the Gilry had oxygen tanks around their mouths because they're fish out of water, so to speak. This Cthulhu Daddy, literally has a huge mask, over his face. And it does seem like these black pipings connect to that and essentially provide him the means of being on land, which again makes sense and also would follow the precedent set by the Gilry. So I kind of expect that to be the case, that there'd be some synergy there. And again, they've shown like he's got these barnacles on his arms, and he's kind of bluish. So yeah, being in waterborne originally makes sense. Really curious to see how they implement the goblin gunner at the top, which is just so silly and awesome at the same time. And this horror is just disgusting. I have no idea who comes up with these ideas. It's awesome, also very disturbing, also just wild. I think very clearly matches the War Witch feeling. If you look at Kimoshi, you get that same sense of hairstyle, right? Where it's just like these massive hair coming off the sides, and then the Maro War Witch, Kimoshi was just disgusting. This goes a little bit step further. It looks like we've got some sort of insectoid centipede Maro, which I don't know how they made or what they did to get this thing on their side, or if it was created, mutated, whatever this thing came from. I just don't know what to expect. I kind of assume it's going to be a Hive Lord, so that there's Hive Lord synergy, but I really have no idea. We don't have very many Maro coming out of not classic. Obviously, there's tons of classic, but Renegade Maro, there's very limited. We really just have Bach Bernah, so I'm curious to see if this is going to be just a standalone unit, or if it's going to have some synergy to old units, or if it's going to, future or if it's going to have abilities that would allude to future synergies within the new Renegade unit. So super exciting. I love horror type stuff. I love just disgusting, grotesque stuff. This game is not for the faint of heart. And yeah, no, it's awesome. Love it. Just another angle. You get to see this. Yeah, it's like insides and the legs are all just, oh, those look like feathers or something. Oh gosh. Oh, is this like a shrimp or something? Oh man. It's like a Maro shrimp. That would be crazy. That would actually be worse. I don't want it to be a Maro shrimp. That would be kind of not very intimidating, actually. Hopefully it's a little bit scarier than a shrimp. Here's just another angle from behind. Oh wow, it's a single hex. Okay, wow. So very large and very tall. That's wild they got it to sit on a single hex. Wow, that's cool. Okay. Good to know. That is crazy. Oh man. Ugh, grotesque. All right, our very own favorite filler, Isamu, with noted massive thighs. Holy heck, this guy's jacked. Jacked in death, mind you. They have made it very obvious. This is an undead version of Isamu. Note his eyes are white, which is, I think, very clearly, undead. You can see his ribs. Oh, and also, by the way, in case you couldn't tell, yeah, bro's got knives and swords sticking out of him. Like, literally, this guy has been diced up a few times, which I think is kind of hilarious because, like, they could have just done an undead Isamu for whatever reason, but this is literally like, no, he finally failed his vanish. He finally got caught. Out of all the times that he's been played in every army, more than any other unit in the game across any other format, this guy's finally caught, got stabbed like 3 times over. He's dead. Oh, by the way, Revna's like, nah, you're too good to be dead. I'm bringing you back. So we're getting an Isamu 2.0 as an undead samurai, ninja, whatever. I don't know what we're getting in terms of his abilities or how he's going to play, his points. Very curious. But I think they also did this because if they brought Isamu back as 2.0, I think the assumption is you kind of have to make the 2.0 version seem in some ways better or more advanced or more skilled than the previous version. In some way, not necessarily better competitively, but, thematically. And this guy's already too good at vanishing. So I kind of think it makes a lot of sense that they were like, hey, you know what? We can't make it Isamu 2.0 because then we'd have to give him like Vanish 4, like just make him invincible. So they're like, well, we need to get rid of the Vanish ability. So how about we just kill him and then bring him back as an undead? And because undead are mindless and controllable, it doesn't make sense that he would be, skilled at Vanish, especially if he literally was killed because he failed to vanish in his, mortal life. And so that's the theme behind what I think is going on here is they're basically like, thematically, it allows them to bring him back as a 2.0 version because he's killed, so they can remove the Vanish ability and just give him other abilities and make him a little bit more fun and usable and balanced. So that's my assumption. Oh, also, this is a little bit of a clearer image for the front of this fish dude, Omnicron fish dude. So there you go. All right, here's an angle of the bear squad. We've got brown bear, polar bear, black bear behind there. We'll show you the angle. We've got axes and gnarly weaponry from these guys. Don't really know what to expect from these other than that's pretty cool that we get 3 different types of bears being represented. I kind of wish that they had just gone with like a brown bear squad, a black bear squad, and a polar bear squad. Like, I think that would have been cool to have each type of bear squad have different types of abilities. But they just went for variety, so we get all the different bears represented here. So whatever, I think it's still pretty cool. Love the bears, Ordos, Frostclaws, Adelburn, Irene, all the bears, love it. Can't wait to get more. Here's just a little bit of a better angle. We see that they're decently armored, decently weaponized. The weapons seem to be a little bit more primitive than the Ordo and the and Adelburn and the Frostclaws. So I think we probably are seeing a earlier version or a earlier historical version of what weapons they had prior to their more mechanized weapons. These definitely seem to be more like the caveman weapons, so to speak, versus the mechanized versions that the Ordo and Frostclaws and Adelburn have. So, I think we're seeing kind of a historically earlier version of those guys. So, yeah. Oh, and just as a reminder, this is the original fan art, or not fan art, this is the original concept art from the Avalon Hill days for the Cthulhu Daddy. So, yeah, you had your goblin up there. You actually had the air tanks, it looks like, on the back. And you had your Cthulhu Daddy, miniature here. Pretty on point. I mean, they did a great job making the miniature look exactly like the concept art originally had done. So, well done, Renegade. Honestly, this is freaking sweet. All right, we get Tailord 2.0 with a flaming sword. Love everything about it except for his physique. There's been a lot of discussion about this on Discord, and Master Roshi's provided his opinions. I'm inclined to agree. This just looks like a fatty Tailord that's been eating Cheetos for too long and then just got called out to the battlefield. It's not loving the way that they've shown him as being kind of this boss warrior out to, be Ukar's strongest on the battlefield. Not sure why the chonk, maybe there's a thematic reason, but I'm not sure you can come up with and convince me that there's a good one. Dude's got a flaming sword. I would expect him to, take some names and slay some guys on the battlefield, but I'm not convinced that he's going to be doing much of that with that chonk. So that's my feedback, but pretty obvious. I mean, this is clearly Tailord 2.0, so we've got Tailord again, so let's go. Some sort of Soulborg. No idea what's going to happen here. Looks like a one-eyed dude, so some sort of cyborg, Cyclop type thing. I think it's going to be a very fast assassin type unit. I mean, that blade seems to be very much of a assassin blade type thing that we've seen in lots of tropes. I just get the sense that the slender build, it's going to be very fast. This is like a hex based cape. I think this is going to be some sort of invisibility or terrain altering cape where he basically is invisible or can fade into or hide amongst whatever terrain he's a part of. So maybe that's no hit zones or something. I don't really know. But I kind of think it's intentionally hex-based with a black to kind of indicate it's got some sort of special properties across all terrain. And that, again, he's some sort of assassin-type unit that is just what seems to be along the correct themes of what you would expect a unit like this to look like. No idea if that's true, but, there we go. Sudema 2.0. Love it. She looks way cooler in this version. No idea what she did here to gain this cool staff, or spear, rather. I'm not sure what's going on in the bottom here. It looks like the blue, maybe it's channeling some sort of power or some sort of energy. Again, not super sure. But, her wrappings are also pretty undone. She's got like a wrapping cape. So, I mean, again, 2.0 version looks super boss. Curious to see what they come up with for her abilities, because she was so weak and trash in the first version. Way too many points. Super cool, does some cool things, but just never gets used. So I'm really curious to see how they kind of improved upon the design and allowed her to be playable, but also just be cool, allude to the old abilities, increase the stats or the usability, or just basically give us the same unit but just lower the points. I don't know, we'll see. But Sudema 2.0, let's go. We are getting a Vorid Sheriff. Yes we are, and honestly I love it. This is actually a really cool really cool miniature. I kind of hope that they do some synergy with the other lawmen that exist, kind of like the VC did with Clayton Pierce. So really hopeful to see this Vorid Sheriff do some fun things. If they basically just make him another Lawman like the others. That's going to be kind of lame. So I hope they do something unique and fun, because I actually really like this. He's a tiny little squirrel or something. I don't know. I'm not sure which animal he is, but it looks super boss. Totally love it. Here's the image of that Grut, that like Inquisitor or Investigator Grut. I think that's decently obvious because this seems to be a flashlight. Not so sure about what's on his hat. I think that could be like a headlamp type light. It seems a bit odd if that were the case, but this, I think, is very obviously a flashlight. So I think that kind of indicates that he's some sort of investigator or inquisitor, especially with this huge kind of, jacket coat thing going on. He's also got this cool little discreet pistol that doesn't look like a full-size pistol. That looks like something that you would hide discreetly within, your boot or your jacket. So kind of like an undercover agent or something. So we've got our steampunk Gruts, that are making their way next year. Seems like we've got another one joining the club. I will say that he looks massive compared to what a Grut should look like. We did get some of the early Gruts at Gen Con that were confirmed to be too big. They said that they were going to resize them to be a little bit closer to the scale of what Gruts should be. And I hope they do the same for him. He seems to be quite large for a Grut size. So we'll see what that ends up happening. Hopefully they scale it back to fit the Grut size. So not sure what kind of abilities he's going to have, but sure, cool, whatever. We'll get ourselves a investigator inquisitor Grut from industrialized the Grut civilization. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Here's the Vorid unique squad. This is a really good image, so well done to those taking the pictures. We've got a nice ferret with a really tall top hat. We've got what seems to be a rabbit with a mechanized arm, it looks like. I think that's what he's got going on there. And then like a shotgun. And then we've got like a hare or a chinchilla or something. Those are really big ears. So it looks like the sniper of the bunch. Also looks like a part metal arm on the left one there. Though maybe that's just both are armored. But yeah, we've got a unique squad of 3. I kind of anticipate them being some sort of sniper squad, specialized in their ranged attacks. Not sure exactly what that ends up being. The other unique squad with the glide strikers is more of a shock troop that comes in out of nowhere. I think these guys are going to want to sit back, be more stealthy, and take pot shots. So I'm curious to see how these guys are implemented. Hopefully implemented in a way that allows for a little bit more use. The Ford Glide Strikers were quite underwhelming, so I'm thinking these guys will hopefully be more interesting. Also, this does a really good job of showing the lighting and the coloring of that new terrain. It's very subtle. The new terrain is brown, but just lightly washed in the grooves with that kind of light blue, which I think further confirms my assumption that this is going to be some sort of rust or like mold or rust or moss terrain. Less moss terrain than I think. That was kind of my first thought, was maybe it was more of like a mossy terrain because it looked a little bit greener in the other pictures. But I think this actually very clearly looks more like a rust or a mold. So rust terrain or mold terrain, I think, seems pretty accurate. You can see it a little bit more in this side over here. It seems a little bit more rust looking or mold looking. So yeah, curious to see what that terrain actually ends up being. But yeah, it's very distinctive. It's a very different look than the other terrain. We have another lawman, looks like a sheriff as well, or maybe a deputy. The double pistols and the brown coat seem to indicate that this could be our Guilty 2.0, Guilty McGreesh 2.0. I don't know if that's the case, but I could totally see it. I mean, I really could. Obviously the double pistols kind of allude to that fact, and the coloration seems like that could be the case. Obviously, it could just be some other lawman, but yeah. Also note the Doc Ock arm on the back, which is kind of crazy. I think this could be an allusion to literally Doc Ock from Marvel, or it could just be an allusion to the industrialized nature of some of the planets that we're seeing. Also, could just be strictly the an allusion to the Cowboys versus Aliens movie that came out a while ago. Maybe this is some sort of alien type mechanized suit that cowboys have access to. I don't really know, but we've got a lawman with a with a scorpion spider type arm on his back. Not sure if it's going to be specifically used for grabbing, attacking, or shooting. I think you could see the circle in the middle of it that could be, some sort of gun or blaster. But I think it's more likely that we're going to see some sort of grab ability, some sort of, immobilization ability used by this miniature. So, yeah, curious to see what the heck they come up with for him. But I kind of like to think that the Vorid sheriff and this guy are either sheriff and deputy, and then they have some sort of synergy with the other lawmen, especially the classic lawmen in Classicscape. If that's the case, I'm here for it. That would be awesome to have lawmen synergy coming together. And here's just another angle from the back of said lawman. It's basically just he's wearing some sort of backpack type thing, mechanized backpack with the arm attachment there. So, yeah, pretty straightforward. This is also a back angle on the unique Vorid squad, which is actually kind of cool because you can see that this rabbit dude has this massive container on his back that's attached to his mechanized arm. So I'm not super sure what he's got there. It's possible that's like a representation of ammo. I mean, maybe not. I'm not really sure. None of the other guys have that. The chinchilla clearly has a sniper rifle. The ferret either has a rifle or a shotgun, and then this guy seems to have a shotgun. The rabbit dude. So I'm not 100% sure. Well, maybe they're each going to have a different ability somehow represented within the squad. So yeah, curious to see how that's implemented. Also forgot to cover this carrion crow that has some nasty like blisters or bubble or some sort of infection on the back. I think this is very likely some undead Revna carrion crow unit that has infection that it spreads. Again, this is coming from the back, so we'll show you the front here really quick. Again, this is that unit from the front. Again, very clearly an undead unit. I think you can see the sunken eyes near the beak. The legs these are all skeletal legs. The odd part is really just like the wings. Not really sure what's going on there because it seems like those are the wings up there, but then these are the feet, but these also look like arms. So maybe this is some sort of mutated, crow, undead figure. Not really sure, but I kind of think this is going to be some sort of unit that spreads disease. It kind of feels that way. But yeah, curious to see what kind of comes of that. Really no idea what kind of synergies we're going to see there. But yeah, most of these seem to be unique heroes with unique squads, which tracks pretty well with master set type stuff. We're getting 2 unique squads with the bears and the Vorids. We're getting 2 huge units with the Maro and then the Cthulhu Daddy, and then we're just getting a bunch of units. We got a few versions, 2.0 versions with Sudema, Isamu, and Tailord, and then we're getting some historical units with Joan of Arc and the Asian police officer. We're getting some more Vorids. We're getting some undead cyborgs. We're getting a guy from the original webisode. So I mean, we're actually hitting quite a lot of opportunities here for cool designs. new terrain, either rust or mold terrain, and new terrain, fungi terrain, which is really cool. So yeah, I think we got a lot to be excited about. Secrets of the Citadel, August 2026. So that'll be Gen Con next year. That means all of these will be playable at Gen Con next year, which is wild to think, considering all the stuff that's already come out this year, all the stuff that's coming out through the spring, and then whatever this stuff is by Gen Con next year. Should make for quite an amazing season of events over the next 6 to 8 months. So get excited. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time.